Hello, everybody, and welcome to Mental Health and Wellbeing Channel. Today, we are going to look at our mental health and how it is so important to take care of your mental health. Your mental health is very, very vital to your life, and without your mental health, you won't be able to function in this world. You need to have good mental health. I believe the same way we spend time looking after our physical health, we need to spend time looking after our mental health because our mental health is key. Without our mental health, we won't be able to function. We won't even have a life. If you're not in your right mind, how would you manage to get on with your life and achieve your goals and just do the basic things in life? You'll be useless actually if your mental health is not in check. So I just want to encourage people to generally look after their mental health and pay attention to the small signs of your mental health. Today we're going to be looking at we're going to be listening to a young man, Ermias. He gives us some tips on how to look after our mental health and how he generally looks after his mental health and how he finds looking after his mental health is a key priority. And I believe we need to take the same attitude when it comes to looking after our mental health because sometimes we are under so much stress, under so much pressure, and we just continue going. We don't take some time to stop and to take a break or to just take some time out to recover. We just continue going and we just feel we are okay until one day we just cannot continue anymore because of stress, complete stress. So I want you to spend some time looking and listening to Ermias and his view on mental health. He's a bit shy on camera, so I had to blur out his face in order for him to feel comfortable with the video. But I just want you to listen to what he's saying. I will interject and talk a bit while he is explaining how he looks after his mental health. So I'll pick out keywords just to encourage you to pay attention to your mental health because your mental health is vital to your life, not just to your life, to your family, to your husband, to your wife, to your children, to your job, to your everyday life. Yeah. So let's spend some time just looking and listening to what Ernest have to say regarding his mental health. Let me play this.
Hello, today I'm here with Ermias, and Ermias is going to give us some tips about his mental health and how he looks after his mental health regularly. I'm going to ask him a few questions because these questions just will give us some insight as to how Ermias deals with his mental health. So the question I'm going to ask Ermias is, can you share some of your daily habits or routines you follow to support your mental health and well-being?
Yeah, hi, my name is Ermias. To answer that question, first of all, everyone has mental health. So we need to protect initially by the person itself. To keep my mental health good, I make sure I'm a Christian, I'm born again Christian. So I read my Bible every day. Also, I pray, or also I communicate with people and share the good things about whatever it comes to my mind. I make sure I could take care of that. So this is my mainly routine.
As you can hear, Ermias, one of Ermias' routine is his faith, and he spends time reading the Bible, praying, and just spending time, looking after his mental health. And his faith helps his mental health. And as you say, well, that gives him a sense of purpose because he is preparing his day and he's not just focusing on the anxiety around him and the issues ahead of him in terms of what he has to deal with and manage for his life, but he's taking time out to spend time in prayer, spend time in praying, and not just praying, reading the word, reading the Bible, as well as building up his faith, because that gives him the courage to take on the stresses of life. I believe one of the biggest thing about stress is believing that you lack the internal resources to deal with the external challenges. And Ermias is saying that spending time reading the word, spending time in prayer, spending time just focusing on what's important important to him before he starts to begin with managing his external, environment. And I think that's key to mental health. Let's go on and listen
I
further.
pray, I read the gospel, or study. Also, I care about what comes to the mind. Also, share good things with other people.
Okay.
Another key point, he cares what comes to the mind. I believe a lot of us, we spend so much time in negativity. We don't really observe what comes to our mind, and we allow our negative thoughts to influence our moods and affect our mental health. So Ermias is saying that he pays attention what comes to his mind. And I think that's one of the major things we have to do regarding looking after our mental health is look at what we meditate on. We spend more time giving our energy to. And a lot of us, we've been programmed to give our energy to negativity, and that affects our mental health, especially if you spend all day meditating on things that you have no control over or things you cannot change. Let's listen further to what Ermias has to say.
That's brilliant. Let me ask you another question. What do you find most helpful when you are feeling stressed or overwhelmed? How do you deal with that?
Yeah. Again, from those points, the main thing is to release my stress, because we're living in a very fast world, and the workload from work, from in general, from life, it could be high. So in that time, the key thing is for me that works the best is take quiet time. Also, I love reading the books, so I'm always constantly reading the book. The most important thing is prayer. That's the key for me. That lift up the burden from my shoulder, that possesses me. So prayer is the key for me.
Okay, that sounds good. Prayer is very powerful. And
when I say prayer, it's not only asking God to do something for you. It could be praise, it could be intercede for others. These kind of things.
Okay, that sounds very good. I think I have another question for you. How do you maintain the balance between work life and personal life, especially around your mental health? Because sometimes life can become so stressful, and we can get kind of so overwhelmed. But how do you maintain balance between work and your personal life?
Yeah. How do you keep the balance
between your...
Yeah, it's key. It's sometimes it's quite hard not to mix the two, because whatever you have good time, you bring it home. Whatever you have bad day or hectic day, you bring it home. So at that time, the physical bit I reduce. For example, when I say physical, I make sure I don't mix my work email with my personal email.
I think this is very key, separating his work life and his personal life. A lot of us bring work home. We constantly in that work mode, and we don't take time to get away from work and focus on other things. We become so work absorbed. There's always a deadline to meet. There's always emails to answer. There's always phone calls to make. There's always something to do. And we kind of continue on this conveyor belt of work, not realizing we are just stressing ourselves out and wearing ourselves out. And we're not taking time out to focus on ourselves, to get away from work, to do something legible. Ermias mentioned reading books. That's some way of a form of escapism from the reality and the stressful life that we encounter throughout our lives. So here, Ermias has really described something that we all need to pay attention to: separating work from our personal life. People become their work. Their work is their identity. And this is where we become so consumed in our work life. We lose ourselves. We don't spend time in order to do something that can take us completely away from work and revitalize us and bring us to a place where we are back into that state where now, when we go back to work, we're more effective, because now we have remove work from our lives for a time and spend time with your family, spend time with your friends, do something enjoyable, go to the gym, go for a walk, the basic thing that we should do regarding our mental health. And Ermias just explained what he does. He separates his work life from his personal life. We need to pay attention to this. Let's continue.
Using my phone, this is my personal phone. I don't mix the Teams, the emails, things like that. Work is work.
Yeah.
But in here, as soon as I trained myself, as soon as I leave the door, everything work is behind.
Yeah.
Everything work is behind, and I come back tomorrow as a fresh person. As I said, all my routines, I keep them. I pray, I read. Then they feed me back to come back with a better person to deal with it. That's how I lead my life, basically.
That's brilliant. And the final question is, are there any tools or practices you have in particular used to stay stable with your mental health? Or to stay grounded, per se?
Could you repeat that question? Please?
Is there any tools or practices that you do routinely? I know you mentioned a lot of things already that you already do, but is there any tools or practices that you do consistently that help you to remain grounded, especially when you feel stressed and you feel all sorts of things happen, but you stay grounded in spite of what's going around you, you maintain that level of stability around your mental health?
Yeah, those 4 things are still the key for me. But having said that, also it's good to update myself, taking training about on a certain issue. That is also eye-opening. So I know if I take a training, I know how is that related to my life, my mental health. I make sure so. That's key for me as well. Take a training, also try to see myself.
Yeah.
Also try to understand other people, how mental health. I'm unique, also I'm not unique.
Yeah.
So yeah, I try to understand others. That's a tool for me.
Yeah.
The way I see people, I would like to see myself as well. So then I'll look after my mental health.
I think that's very important what Yes said there, seeing himself, taking training, giving himself, educating himself, investing in himself, taking time to, see people around him and see how people manage their mental health as well, because he's seeing good examples maybe, and he wants to implement that into his life. I believe seeing yourself is so important, because we forget ourselves sometimes. We're so busy just pouring ourselves out to other people. We don't take time to kind of replenish ourselves. So most of the time you're running on empty, but you're trying to give something you don't have. But Hermes is saying, spending time, getting training, spending time with people, looking at people, looking at how people look after their mental health, and just investing in himself. I believe that's a key point, that you need to invest in yourself. I'm sure as a housewife, as a working husband, or whatever you do, as single people, boyfriend and girlfriend, whatever you do, doing all sorts of stuff, planning, doing things together is very, very important. And that sometimes is what you need. You need to get away from the routine of the stressful life that this world or this society has kind of we have been consumed with, and we're losing ourselves in. We need to come out of it and start to see you, because you're an individual and you need to be replenished, you need to be nurtured, you need to spend time to look after yourself in order for you to be effective in your life and achieve your goals, whatever you have planned for your future, whatever, you need to make sure that you take time for yourself. I cannot stress that enough, to take time for yourself. Let me see, if we come to the end of, let me just say what the final words Ermias have to share with us.
So what needs to be, before it get too late, I go to the right place to get help, to get support. So I won't give it a blind eye, then it will become too much, unbearable. Okay. So in the right time to tackle it, I take training. What's going on about mental health? Many people have mental health.
And I mean, this final word here is asking for help. Asking for help, and that's something that a lot of us don't do. We don't ask for help. We want to be strong. We want to show people that we're capable, we're able, and we don't ask for help. So what Hermes is saying that is very important when you feel stressed, when you feel consumed, when you feel you're drowning, to ask for help. Don't be ashamed to ask for help. It doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're not capable. Sometimes we just need a bit of encouragement. We need to talk to people about things. We need to kind of have that somebody we can confine in and tell them where we are and what we're going through. And Hermes has just explained how vital that is to our mental health, to talk. I believe talking is the most powerful experience you can ever have when you talk about how you feel and where you are, especially regarding the pressures of life that you're facing. Not just the pressures of life, it can be issues from previous experience in your life that you are carrying as well, as contributing to how you feel. So Hermes is saying talking, finding people to talk to about your situation, your circumstances, your challenges, and that can alleviate some of the burden that you're carrying around and you're trying to get through life, as well as having these pressures to deal with. So communication is key. I just want to thank you for watching this video, and I hope that you got something out of this video. I hope this video is helpful regarding your mental health. And the most important thing I want to share with you, and I want to remind you, is this: look after your mental health. Now, if you enjoyed this video, if you want to share how you look after your mental health, and you can give us some tips as to the what you do daily, what is your routine in terms of how you manage your mental health, I would love to hear from you. I love to hear how you manage your mental health, because we cannot stop learning different ways of caring for ourselves and caring and keeping our mental health stable and healthy. Healthy mental health is that's what we want everybody to have, and looking after your mental health is vitally important. Thank you for watching this video. Until we meet next time, bye for now. Bye-bye.